Alright guys, I figure while I'm here cranking out videos about stuff, go-karts and other stupid things, I would show you some MS3 Gold Box stuff. We get a lot of questions and it can be complex, obviously. It's a complex product. I mean, it's easy enough to use with a bass tune and a wiring harness, but it's capable of so much, and there's been a couple changes just to the design. Mike is always trying to make it better. And one neat thing is I have a prototype box here that I test. I'm the official tester, tuner, and we mess around with stuff. And this is a prototype that Mike had built for me to test. And this was for the Coyote and inadvertently the Coyote, but most importantly, he had modified part of his circuit board here. You can see there's just wires, these tiny little, I don't even know, like 30 gauge wires. Jesus, they're so small. Anyway, one of the free upgrades with the newer box you get as of many months ago, he put in a real-time barometric sensor. So what this does is real-time baro correction. So you have the map sensor in the motor. Normally when you key on, it takes a first check of the map, and then what it does is, so you start the motor and it reads everything from then. The neat thing about this is some people build crazy race cars, obviously, and this is a neat feature. If you have a Pikes Peak car or something that hill climbs, what this will do is, let me make sure that I can get all this in here. Let me tilt this, hope so no one gets nauseous. What's really cool about this is, obviously, if you're climbing a really high elevation, this will correct. You can put barometric correction in. I mean, it has an automatic, like a base settings in it. But if you are driving from 1,000 to 8,000 feet, it might get screwed up and you have to really rely on your closed loop fueling or this guy, or you have to key the car on and off for it to get a new sample. And another neat thing is there's a real-time clock module in these newer boards, which you can see here. This is the battery for it. This is an even newer board, as you can see. So you can, it actually says version 1.2, EFI source, AEA electronics. And then you can see down here, this is a newer board. You can see that this has the real-time clock. He has built in the modifications which go for traction control and the VR sensors for the Coyote. For the dual cam input and wheel speed inputs, he has it's called like a Max 99 chip he has integrated in here, so you can put a tooth wheel directly into the PT4 and one of the other, don't quote me on those, but you can directly input wheel speed sensors and cam position sensors. So that's what's awesome, obviously, about this. And one neat thing, what they did is he ended up using, on the wiring harness, this is the new one, on the wiring harness, there is the serial port. And the MS3 boxes obviously have USB, so Mike was like, well, I can steal part of the serial connectors and I can use 2 of those inputs and blah, blah, blah. And he's maximizing his space and changing his configuration and other neat stuff. What he ended up doing with the newer one here, this 1.3 board, you can actually see he added the serial port back in onto the board. So there's an external connector here right above the USB is the serial port, so you still have the serial. Some people, they struggle with their USB connections sometimes, and the serial works obviously awesome. It's hard to beat a serial connection. So what's neat is something that he was going to sacrifice originally has found its way back in. Incredible. He's always getting nuts with that stuff. And what I have in my Colorado is the transmission controller separate in a micro squirt box, like above my glove box. In the airbag cubby hole that I made is the micro squirt. So everything's connected around. And then what we've been waiting for a long time is for Mike to get patents approved by B&G, because the micro squirt has a straight up and down connector, and he needed them to approve. Literally, this is what took so long. For whatever reason, logistics and people in business will understand this, but just getting this 90-degree connector instead of the straight connector was what took like a year or 2 years nearly. I have a bad timeline in my head, but this was talked about, and this is why Mike built the box this way, because all of this slides in beautifully. This is obviously, you just take out the screws and like this is the black box, and you go into 1, 2, 1, 2, boom, and you put the screws in and you're there. It's done. So what's different about this one is you do the same damn thing. Number 2. Give it a little wiggle. Come on. This one's sticky. Ta-da! Lines up nice. Ready to rock. And then, well, sorry, I biffed already. What I'll do is I'll shove this wire down in. Just let this flop for now. See how this works? Gotta plug the cereal guy in. Can't forget your cereal in the morning, guys. Alright, put that back in. And then this one, you can kind of eyeball and just push to the left. And it'll grab the circuit board here at the right height. And that's it. You put your screws in, and then you have the engine side, inputs and outputs, and then the transmission controller, or what's really neat about this, some people don't know, you can load, if you have a TH400 or a Power Glide, like my buddy Ackerman with the race car and Mark Frederick with the race car, they don't need a 4L80E transmission controller, but you can use this for ins and outs. You can load different firmware on here, and it will accept this as just another input-output box. It's firmware called the I/O box, and you can add like pressure transducers, and you can wire all of it for like dome control and crazy boost stuff and back pressure, and I mean you can do that. My buddy has all of that with the regular ins and outs, but you can add even more ins and outs on this end, or have transmission control. So that's some neat stuff that not everybody knows about and hasn't really been explained, and it's hard to explain and keep up on it. So quick, neat update video on the MS3 Gold Box by my buddy Mike. If you have any more specific questions about this, you can ask them in the comments, and I will do my best to address them for you, or I will have Mike address them, or maybe we will do a Q&A video. Sometime it would be cool, I think, if I go down there and we show you guys how they build this stuff on his machines. They're incredible. But for now, quick, 8-minute video on what's been changing. This was a prototype box, and now this is a finalized run. So it's really neat to see how this all goes together, isn't it? Pretty cool stuff. But that's pretty much it, and hope you guys, learned something. If you have some questions, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. He's constantly, actually, if you guys have like ideas, what's awesome about Mike is you can be like, Mike, I got crazy ideas. Would you implement them? And he'll be like, yeah, tell me them. I love crazy ideas too. So he's a very forward-thinking company, loves that stuff, very helpful, obviously, on the phone. We have really good feedback every time anybody has crazy stuff or issues, and just awesome stuff going on down here in Boyertown. So, well, that's about it. Let us know if you have any other questions or comments or anything in the thing below in YouTube there land. Enjoy.